busy. Before I could respond, Helen interjected with a laugh. You're just a parasite. A parasite? Me? I manage childcare, household chores, and caregiving, keeping them comfortably housed, and I'm the parasite? That's unforgivable. Fine, I quit being a wife and a daughter-in-law as of today, I declared. Dwight and Helen looked baffled by my statement. You're quitting being a wife? Planning to divorce? As if you could. He scoffed. Without batting an eye, I calmly stated, I'm leaving you. What the? Ignoring his bewildered expression, I opened a cabinet behind me and slammed some documents down on the desk. Here's the divorce papers. Sign them, please. Are you serious? He stared at the divorce papers and then at me, his face turning pale. Helen tried to maintain her composure, her voice quivering. She can't be serious. What's wrong, Helen? Scared of losing your precious caregiver? I taunted. No, it's not that. You can't possibly think of a divorce as feasible. How do you plan to survive without any money? Helen challenged. I can't believe you would say that, I shot back. Dwight, sensing the gravity of the situation, warned Helen. Stop, Mom. Don't say anything anymore to her. Helen, did you know this house is mine? I revealed. What? Helen was stunned while Dwight held his head in his hands. Yes, actually, I inherited this land and house from my late grandfather, and my husband and I renovated it to live there. I thought you said my son bought this house. Yes, we told you that at Dwight's request. What do you mean? You're the type who thinks a man is worthless if he lives in a house registered in his wife's name, right? Oh, well, yes, of course. A man should be the breadwinner and provide a home or two. That's why Dwight never told you the truth, I explained. Huh? When we found out we were expecting, we decided to leave our apartment life behind and move into a house. That same year, my grandfather passed away, leaving me his land and house. We agreed it was the perfect solution, but Dwight hesitated, saying, My mom's going to judge me if we lived in a house that's under your name. You see, Helen holds outdated views on gender roles, believing men should financially support women. So when she hears modern couples splitting bills on dates, she's quick to criticize. That's not very manly. Meanwhile, she also claims to hold progressive views, arguing that women should be independent and not rely on men. The contradiction was clear. If Dwight hadn't bought our home and we lived in one registered in my name, she'd belittle him. You should buy your own house with your own money, she'd likely say. We would be the ones to live in the house, but we knew it would be a source of unnecessary comments. To avoid such drama, we decided to pretend Dwight bought the house. Learning the truth, Helen lamented. I didn't raise my son to be so unmanly. And looked at her son with disdain. Dwight, feeling guilty, couldn't meet her eyes. If my relationship with them had been better, I might have defended him against such outdated thinking, but not this time. So, will you all please leave the house? I asked with a smile, causing Dwight and Helen to stiffen. Wait, Sherry, I get why Mom and Grandma should leave, but I'm your husband and we're not divorced. He protested, unwilling to leave. If he were to be kicked out, his only options would be renting somewhere or moving back to his parents, the latter being more practical but less appealing due to the poor public transport and his lack of a car. I get it. Helen, too, seemed reluctant to leave, likely dreading the return to caregiving for her mother. Think it over, Sherry, she suggested. No, you're leaving. I insisted, dragging their belongings out to the yard. What do you think you're doing? She panicked. It doesn't make sense to keep someone else's stuff in my house. I'm decluttering. Despite their protest, I continued to move their things outside. Eventually, I even pushed Dwight out onto the lawn. Though I didn't physically force Helen or Grandma out, it ended up being quite the scuffle to get them outside. As I quietly closed the window, Dwight and Helen banged on it, demanding to be let back in. Amidst the chaos, Grandma, confused by the situation, kept yelling, "Play with me!" hitting and kicking Dwight and Helen. Unable to calm Grandma down, they took the brunt of her frustration. "Sherry, don't just watch! Help me!" Helen pleaded for my help. Dwight did the same, begging, "Please stop Grandma!" But I just smiled and watched the scene unfold without opening the window. "Ouch! Oh, come on! Don't just watch! Help me!" she screamed. Before I knew it, Grandma had mounted Helen and was hitting her on the forehead. Dwight, not wanting to get involved, just watched from a distance, trembling. "You were once a skilled businesswoman, right, Helen? If you were so great at your job, surely you can think of a way to resolve this mess," I teased. "How dare you? Or are you like me and not good at handling things well?" Helen looked at me with a look of despair and shouted, "I'm sorry." No wonder she was desperate. There were gardening tools like a shovel and a sickle nearby. Anything could happen. But if anything did, it would just be an unfortunate accident. I'm not to blame. If you're as capable as you say, I'm sure you can figure it out," I said with a smile, then closed the curtain. I thought about calling an ambulance if things got worse, but Helen ended up scolding Dwight and somehow managed to stop Grandma's rampage. They must have realized I was no longer an option for them. Afterward, they didn't ask to come back, but managed to get Grandma into a taxi and went back to their own home. Eventually, Dwight and I got divorced without any issues. Dwight, having failed to protect his mother from Grandma that day, has been at odds with her ever since. Incredibly, Helen demanded, "If you want to stay here, you take care of Grandma." The two who didn't want to take care of her ended up pushing the responsibility onto each other, and eventually, Dwight had to put Grandma in a nursing home at his own expense. She even said to him, "You cover the expense like a man." This only added fuel to their strained relationship, leading to their current estrangement. As for me, Dwight still sends messages of regret and pleas for reconciliation, wanting to live with their daughter again. But I have no intention of accepting, firmly stating, "Our relationship is only about child support now." That incident exposed his indecisiveness and tendency to be swayed by others into playing the domineering husband, something I'm no longer willing to deal with. No matter what, there's no going back. Being a divorced stay-at-home mom was tough at first, but with help from my parents, I've started working as a beautician again. As long as I have these skills, I won't struggle to make a living. I don't need him to live a strong and independent life. Besides, my daughter and I have welcomed a new family member, leaving no room for him in our home. Got a new husband, you ask? Indeed. He has triangular ears, a mustache, and meows. Isn't he adorable? Despite having me, he seemed to have an affair with the cat next door, and they're expecting kittens soon. They're not my children, but since they're his, I'll take responsibility and raise them. So my daughter and I, along with our beloved cats and their upcoming litter, will continue weaving a life full of joy and laughter. Now, I need to make some homemade treats for the cats. Let's boil some chicken.